Well, thanks for joining us for our Wonderful Day in the Lord broadcast. We're in the book of Proverbs, and we're looking at relationships this week. People are our greatest joy in many ways, and they can also be a tremendous sorrow for us, a disappointment for us. It's hard to escape people. Most of us don't want to, but some do. Some become hermits, either in reality or functionally. And therefore they try to stay away from any contact with people because people are too complicated. Matter of fact, a lot of people that don't go to church who claim to be Christians would say they don't go to church because they just have been disappointed by people. They don't want to be around people. It's too difficult to have these relationships and those types of things. Of course, that's anathema to Scripture that calls for us to be involved with people, to minister to them, sometimes to receive their rebuke or their harshness on us, maybe even unkind things. But God uses those things in our lives for His purposes. And so people are very important. Relationships are very important, and most would not want to live without them. We're looking at different kinds of people. Yesterday we looked at the wise and how we want to live wisely, and we want to be around wise people who will help us live that way. Today we go to the opposite extreme, which Proverbs does all the time, giving us both the good and the bad. Well, here we have the opposite, and that is that those who are wicked, those who are living not wise lives, but evil lives, or living foolish lives, as is evidenced by how they're living. We're looking at chapter 6 today, which we'll look at some characteristics of these kinds of people that we probably want to stay away from unless we're able to minister to them and help them. But for the most part, these are people that tend to harm us and tend to drag us down with them. So we must be very careful with that. We must not be naive, a subject we'll talk about later in the week. Chapter 6, verse 12, what are wicked people like? What are the characteristics of the wicked? Well, one is that they are liars. It says in verse 12, a vile person is a wicked man, is the one who walks with a perverse mouth. A perverse mouth, that is a mouth that speaks evil, a mouth that lies, a mouth that is crooked, a mouth that says things that are unkind and untrue, who twist the truth, who turn it to their own advantage. Those are the kind of people that are described here as wicked. So we see what they say. We see the use of their language, and we can tell whether or not they're wise or foolish or wicked on the basis of how they speak. So our tongue gives us away, doesn't it? As Jesus says, our tongue reveals our hearts. And so it's not the problem with what we say, really. The problem is much deeper. It's in our very hearts. And if we see ourselves speaking in ways that reveal wickedness or evil, then we need not only to change our speech, we need to take a good look at changing our hearts. But that's one evidence of a wicked person, is how they speak. Secondly, they are deceivers. We see in verse 13, who winks his eye, who signals with his feet, who points with his fingers. These are descriptions of an individual who's not being forthright, who is being deceptive. So when it says he winks with his eyes, he's not talking about somebody flirting. He's talking about somebody who's not being consistent, who's not being honest. So they made a deal, but the wink tells us they're not being forthright about that. They might flatter somebody, but the wink gives them away that they didn't really mean what they had to say. And the wink probably isn't seen by the people they deceive. The wink is seen by their buddies or other people. And so they know they're being deceitful. They know they're not doing the right thing, but they think they're clever, and they think they're getting by with something. As they're the kind of person that closes the deal, and they smile all the way through, and they turn right around, and they tell everybody else how they took advantage of somebody. These are wicked people. These are the kind of people you don't want to trust your life with. And our world is flooded with such people. Much of our industry, much of our sales world, our advertising and so forth is ran by people that are deceiving us, or at least trying to do so in order for us to buy a product that we probably don't need, to impress people that we probably don't really care that much about to begin with. Be very careful with deceptive people. And now there's a third characteristic, verse 14. They invent ways to do wrong. In verse 14, who with perversity in his heart continually devises evil. So here's a person not content with just, doing the everyday type of sinful things. They're looking for opportunities to invent ways to do certain things. They're very creative at doing evil. We see this all the time with these scams on that people have, that whether it's on the phone or through other media or whatever they're doing. We see these folks who are inventing ways to take advantage of people that don't know any better. They prey on the weak. They prey on the older people that get caught up in these things. I get a text many mornings of the week telling me that I need to do such and such on my phone, or I'm going to lose some kind of service. And I know immediately, because of the way it goes out, that this is a deception. If I give into that deception, then I'm going to be taken advantage of, and I'll probably pay a cost. So we have to be so very careful, because the wicked pride themselves in being deceptive. If they would use their creative energy to do good, they could do much good, but they'd rather be deceptive. Thirdly, our fourth here is that they are devising contentions. It goes on in that same verses, who spreads contentions. The wicked like to cause trouble. They like to cause trouble between other people. They like to make other people unhappy and miserable. They are divisive. They cause trouble. And they don't mind doing that at all. As a matter of fact, it's kind of their bread and butter. So you can tell a wicked person because they're not looking for harmony. They're not looking for unity or to bring happiness to people. They're looking for ways to bring difficulty into people's lives. And so we can tell that the wicked by the fact that they don't tell the truth. They're liars. They're deceivers, and they're looking for ways to be deceptive and to trick people and take advantage of people. And they devise ways to harm people and be contentious with them and bring contention between other groups of people. These are the wicked. And Proverbs outlines them and details them and describes them so that we know the kind of people that we need to stay away from. So these are the two groups we've looked at so far this week. The wise that we should emulate and follow and gravitate towards, and the wicked that we need to identify and stay away from. We'll move on to another kind of person tomorrow. I hope you can join us.